Bronx, drill to left field. Is it high enough? See ya! A walk-off grand slam, and the Yankees win.
And he drives one to right field over toward the line. Long run for Laureano, and he home runs it, and the Mets win the ball game.
Burrows, episode 45. Episode 45. Kevin Bunk, Michael Marlowe, and we're pumped, man. Biggest episode ever because the Mets are the best team in the league. First time in our lifetime that the Mets have been the best team in the league at any point in the season. And you got to be amped about it, dude, even though Soto stinks.
Let's just get something straight. We didn't record last week. Mets won 7 straight last week, and Kevin cancels on us. So let's just say that he was scared of the conversations we were going to have. We're still going to have them today, though. I'm pumped. I'm certainly pumped, but you do have to pump the brakes this early, of course.
Yeah, it's still early. They've played this cakewalk schedule. Nobody respectable on the schedule. No, I'm kidding. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Mets have had easier strength of schedule, but who really cares? We've talked about it before this season. Yesterday was awesome because we are Brandon Nimmo guys, and we love Brandon Nimmo. A year ago today, we kicked Lindor and Alonso to the curb, and we said Nimmo's team. He's the guy here. And maybe that was wrong in hindsight, but he was awesome yesterday. 9 RBIs. Hopefully, it's what turns the corner, but we laughed at your tweet. You said you had an 8 out of 10 panic level about Nimmo right before the game. He's a 9 RBI day. It's the grand slam, and it just felt like the turning point for Nimmo, a game that he desperately needed.
Well, yeah, we definitely were defending Nimmo last season. He was an underrated player, not only around the league, but in Met history, especially after the start he had last season. He was an underrated player. Since the second half last year, though, Kevin, and I've been bringing up this stat a while, for a long time now, I'm concerned. Like, the numbers are not good. And yesterday was huge because this could be, like you said, that stepping stone into, okay, maybe I'm breaking out of this almost year-long slump. Could this be the game? He's a massive piece of this lineup. Connects the front end and the back end there with Vientos, who's starting to hit now. So if these two guys, Vientos and Nimmo, can start to hit, there's no better 1 through 9, Kevin, in the entire league if these two are hitting.
From our guy Jonathan, obviously you had the Citi Field short last week, driving back from Citi Field, I believe last Wednesday it was.
That was dangerous, yes.
I was sick last week, and it was directly because the Mets were winning so many games. I felt ill, and the great post-game from Mike, I think we do need more of those, but great post-game from Mike coming. And have you tried the cookie bucket yet, too? I meant to ask you that.
I haven't tried the cookie bucket.
That's a little disappointing by you.
It is. I think it's in like a very select area. Like, you gotta it's not sold in many places.
Yeah. Okay. Nimmo. We were talking about Nimmo.
We
spoke last week or 2 weeks ago. We did the last episode. Nimmo and Vientos, when David Stearns is building a team that is a World Series contender, because I'll say it a million times this year, you do not pay an $800 million contract after going to the NLCS and tell me this isn't a World Series here. I have Mets fans who tell me, like, they don't have to win it this year. They don't have to, but they should be trying to, completely trying to. And Vientos and Nimmo are factored in as, I think, the 4th and 5th best hitters in this lineup. Unless I'm missing somebody right now, right? Lindor, Alonso, Soto, Nimmo, Vientos would be my next two guys.
4 or 5, however you want to slice it.
To have them hitting the way they were for the first 3.5 weeks, because even Vientos is starting to show signs of life now. It's just a good, encouraging spot. And again, with Soto not being Soto yet, it's going to happen. Hasn't happened yet. You need these guys to come through also. And they did yesterday in a big way. I also think yesterday's win, I was coming in here getting ready to talk about whether it was a split, like they won 5-2 yesterday, or they lost yesterday. I was going to say, I think disappointing series against the Nationals, the way you lost on, was it Sunday?
Sunday.
And I was going to say, you would have liked that weekend to go better, that 4-game set. But I think they wiped that yesterday by putting up 19.
Well, a lot of times, especially in the past, the Met team, would have come out flat in that game after blowing the lead. And yesterday to just completely pounce on them and never give them any life whatsoever and just crush them. Like, that was a perfect response. And it does make you forget about what happened on Sunday, and you go there, you split. Okay, they're a pesky team, they're a division rival, they're a young team, and you're coming off a 7-game win streak. You're not going to win every game, so you go there and you split. I'm not going to kick and scream about that. I'm completely fine with the split there.
Now they're 20-9, sitting first place in the standings, and we haven't even spoken about the Phillies series because we weren't on last week. But the Phillies series, they create that ground now, 4.5 games early in the year. The Braves are climbing themselves right back into the thick of things. They're only 2 games back of Philadelphia now. The Mets do feel like the best team in the league, Mike. We could talk about the schedule and everything. They're a game up on the Dodgers and Giants in the NL. They feel better than both of those teams to me right now. That could flip easily in a week, but right now they feel like the best squad.
I would agree. The Dodgers have a lot of injuries, especially their pitching staff. I mean, Glass now just went down. I mean, they are just – I think there's 13 pitchers on the IL, if I read that correctly last night. 13 pitchers the Dodgers have on the IL. But yes, the Mets do feel like the better team right now than everybody else. And it's due to their pitching. I mean, it's not even due to their offense. They have guys that are producing on offense. We know Lindor and Alonso have been MVP candidates, but it's been their pitching that is carrying this team. And I think their starter's ERA is a full run better than the next team on the list, which is the Reds. Right? That is remarkable, and it's unbelievable coming into this season. If I would have told you that this starting rotation would have produced like this, you would have called me absolutely crazy.
An overall team ERA right now, not just starter, but team ERA, they have a 2.62. Dodgers are second with a 3.82. Or no, that's not true. That's not true. MLB.com screwed me. But either way, they're still 0.3 better than the Padres.
They have the best. They still have the best team ERA.
They're the best team ERA. They're the best starter ERA. That brings us to the pitching lab. I want to have a little bit of a lengthy conversation about the pitching lab today because we've heard about it now for a few years. I think last year it starts to come to light, but for me last year, I'm looking at guys like Manaea, like Q-Ball, like Severino, who have had very good seasons as starters. These are veteran starters who have a body of work that it doesn't shock you to see them have a good year later in their career, to see a team be able to figure something out with them. But the Mets now, this is unprecedented what they've done this year. You don't even have Manaea to pitch. You don't have any of those 3 names based on the start of the season. You don't have any of those 3 guys. Obviously, Severino and Quintana not even on the team. But now you have McGill, Holmes, Canning, Peterson. We saw it with Peterson last year. McGill, Holmes, and Canning would have been 3 of the worst starting pitchers in the entire league coming into the season. So what are they doing that makes their pitching so effective?
What is the pitch? What is the pitching lab? And the Mets aren't the first team to have this, right? The Mariners were known for what they've done with pitching, and the Astros and the Rays. We definitely know about the Astros. But what is a pitching lab? I don't necessarily know what they're doing. I think it's especially with a guy like Canning, it's more pitch usage than anything else. His slider was always pretty nasty. He just wasn't throwing it enough, and he was throwing his fastball, and his fastball was so hittable that's why he was getting crushed the past couple of seasons. So he's just throwing the slider a lot more and getting more swing and miss. But he's still throwing a ton of pitches, and he's walking guys, and there's room for improvement there. You saw that a lot with a couple of the guys last season where they just couldn't go deep into games, and those problems worked themselves out as you got later into the season. A guy like McGill, he was always a guy that walked too many people too. Now he's striking out a ton of guys, and he's getting through 5 or 6 innings. It's shocking. It's all just shocking, and I don't know what it is.
So I did some research last night before I knew we were going to talk about it today. We've been waiting to talk about it, and I don't know anything about the pitching lab. I just know what we call it and that the pitchers do well. And so the definition of the pitching lab is a state-of-the-art research facility that uses advanced technology to analyze and improve pitcher performance. Located at Mets spring training. Like when we were talking pitching lab last year, I didn't think it was even an actual place. I just thought it was this is the pitching lab. This is where you come to learn to pitch. It's literally a room. It's actually a thing.
I used to think it was a place, and then I was like, oh, wait, I don't think it's a place. I just think it's what they call it. Okay, so it's an actual place.
Yeah, and the New York Post had a picture of it that I'm trying to pull up right now. My computer is not working with me. We'll get it eventually. But yeah, so basically it's like a bunch of different cameras and I'm trying to pull this up right now. They use cameras, they use different technology, they throw into hard plates that measure pressure, and it just tells a pitcher things about their mechanics, their delivery, their movement that you can't see with your eye, but I guess they know how to develop because of the data that they get from the lab.
That is freaking crazy. Like, from what I had read prior to this, it was, again, it was pitch usage, it was your workout regimens, but maybe that's just like the floor. And then like that is part of it, but that's just a very basic part of it. This is like the advanced part of it here.
I'm going to pull up the picture now, just loading in. It's cool to see actually what it looks like when a guy's in there. You're going to love it because the pitchers just wear underwear.
Oh, come on.
So this is
this is the pitching lab.
This is the pitching lab. They just go, throw off a mound, and you see they got everything connected all over their body to all their different joints, pressure points, anything you use during pitching. And they throw, and the lab actually takes readings of every single thing that has to do with your motion, your delivery, your movement, everything you can imagine in your pitch. And they know how to now develop it afterwards and turn you into a better pitcher.
That is fascinating. Now, when Stearns had gotten here, I remembered reading something how Cohen had to invest, I think, like $15 to $20 million into this. Like, this was the cost of it. Okay. Mm-hmm. So here's my question to you, Kevin. This is what I posed to you, I think, last week. You have teams that can't spend money, right? They refuse to spend money on players, right? Like, let's use the Rockies, for example, who are apparently the most non-analytic team in the league, right? They just don't use it, whatever. They stink. Why wouldn't you invest in something like this? Like, this is your, like the Rays, who don't pay a ton of money for players. Why wouldn't you invest in this, right? And this could be your advantage. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, the Mets are signing guys. Griffin Canning's making $4.5 million this year. Clay Holmes is making $17 million this year. I mean, that's nothing. And they're getting a lot out of these guys because they're investing in something like this. Investing in the advanced analytics and the technology. How are other teams not taking advantage of this?
I'd argue there's not a single team in the league that should be looking away from this. Like, every team should be in on this because even the Yankees, Dodgers, whoever you want to say, why are you spending on Cole, Fried, Rodon when you can be spending on... I'm all for getting an ace. I think there's a couple guys that separate themselves, right? I think that you should pay for that top guy. But when the Yankees clearly have a budget, the Red Sox clearly have a budget, while spending a lot of money, they won't go to the lengths of Steve Cohen. Why not just cut the spending? You make a one-time payment of $20 million. You pay basically a year of a third best pitcher in your rotation salary. And you have this pitching lab for who knows how long it'll work. Maybe for the rest of baseball, it just keeps evolving within the lab. And you have these resources that make it so that you can now give Carlos Rodon's contract to a third baseman, to a first baseman, to whatever position you need. I think every team should be looking at it.
I mean, the Mets have refused to pay starting pitchers a crap ton of money. Like, they believe, I think, in having that ace. They tried to go out there and get Yamamoto, right? But that obviously failed. They don't want to pay pitchers, big-time starting pitchers, top dollar. They refuse to do it. They've been available, and they go and they make signings like Holmes and like Canning, right? There's a reason for this. There's a reason why. And the Brewers used to do this too. I mean, this was David Stern's calling card, basically. Mm-hmm. Like, he would just find guys off the street. They had really good bullpens. Their rotation was always better than you thought it was. And now I think it's to a new level at this point.
It is. The Mets are in a place right now where they have 3 or 4 starters producing at a very high rate that I would confidently say would absolutely, at least out of the 4 guys, Peterson, Canning, Holmes, McGill, I'm confident that 3 of them would stink on any other team, on most other teams. And that's how special the Mets pitching development has become over the last few years.
Give Jeremy Hefner credit too. I mean,
Yep, Hefner's got to get credit.
I'll tell you this: Hefner is the pitching coach, and just say this. I think I'm pretty sure I read this from Martino like a year or 2 ago. I think it was a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
The Mets haven't hired a GM yet. Okay, like Stearns just doesn't feel. I guess he doesn't need it right now, right? I think they're leaving it open for Hefner. I think Hefner is going to be the next general manager of the Mets because at some point, people are going to look at this and say, "Wow, we need to get Hefner in here. We got to hire him as a manager." Right? That's the next step. And I think the Mets are going to hire him as a GM.
It's not a terrible point because I'd imagine Hefner and Stearns are very aligned in their views for how to build a team, how to develop pitching. And while Hefner would not be a guy that I would say a team going clean slate should be like hiring to be a GM, obviously. You know him, and Stearns is still the guy. So Hefner is the general manager under the guy who actually makes the decisions. Right. So he makes the general manager's salary. He gets the respective one, but Stearns is still the guy. He can't do it on his own, Hefner, is what I'm saying.
100%. You're in a unique situation where you have one of the 5 best executives in baseball running the team, and you could say, here you go. Like, we're giving you this promotion. You're way too valuable for this franchise to lose, and he'll still be working with the pitchers in some capacity while also having more say in who they bring in to work with their pitching coaches.
I also think it's very valuable for someone in the position of David Stearns or Brian Cashman, as we talk both teams, to have a former player in the room with you that has a great relationship with players. Because how many times do these guys have to have hard conversations during arbitration, during contract negotiations, where the players completely turn on the front office? And whether they sign back or not, how many players resent Brian Cashman over the last 20 years that signed back with the Yankees, but they resent him because of those meetings? Derek Jeter, the biggest of them all, but you have a former player in there now that can kind of meddle with the disgruntled players. Contract negotiations are tough. I don't like hearing it from a nerd if I'm a superstar player and think I'm much better. I don't want to hear it from the analytics nerd upstairs that never played pro ball. I mean, that's the perspective that I think I would have if I were those guys. So having Hefner in there, I don't mind. That's a good take, man. That's a good take.
Beltran was with the Yankees for a while. Now Beltran's with the Mets. I know Beltran could be a name that could be thrown into that, the GM discussion as well at some point. He's, special assistant to David Stearns right now, but I don't hate that. I don't hate that.
All right, let's go to comments for a minute here. A couple for you. I like this question, though, for Preposterous Pinwheel. I think that, Manaea coming back, we kind of spoke about the Ben Rice, Stanton, like crowding and some champagne problems. But when Manaea comes back, who gets bumped?
I think right now they probably, let's just go through it right now. You got Peterson, McGill, Senga, Canning, Holmes. You're probably going to a 6-man at that point. Mm-hmm. You're going to run 6 guys out there. Now, the question, I think, is when Montas comes back, who do you bump? And I actually have no clue. I would guess Canning. Like, that would be my guess. And you say we're going to get some valuable innings out of him, as a long man or something like that. But, like, McGill is pitching too well for me to take him out. Otherwise, if he wasn't, I would say I like McGill as a guy that could go to the bullpen and have some success out of anybody. Yeah,
I agree with you on Canning's probably the guy, but right now it's tough to even say that you could take him out because he is 4-1 with a 2.6 ERA in over 31 innings. We got Canning comments too. He's looked great. You watch Canning pitch, he looks like a certified stud 3 pitcher in your rotation.
It's more than shocking. Like it's more than shocking.
Yep.
But I don't think Canning goes to the pen and fares well. Like, he's got to be a long man. You also have to remember something. Somebody's going to get hurt. I mean, I don't want to, be, Mr. Negative here, but, we're talking about who we're going to take out. Somebody is going to go down at some point. Again, I know they've dealt with injury to their rotation in the bullpen. Somebody's going to go down. So I'm sure the decision will be easy for Mendoza to make at some point.
Yeah, and Jonathan has a good point here. I wouldn't bump Holmes, but he will get close to that innings limit eventually. So you do need that sixth starter who will give you the 3 innings out of the pen that you can rely on if Holmes is starting to fade a little bit in stamina and fatigue towards the end of the season.
I also think Holmes would start game 2 of a playoff series for me right now. So
yeah, he would.
Like, that's how good I feel about Clay Holmes. So it'd be Senga game 1, Holmes game 2, Peterson game 3.
JM's got an interesting one here. He commented while we were talking pitching lab, but he said, what about the signings of Verlander and Scherzer and Orden at the inn? And
this is what we're going to do. You know how you have like before Christ and after Christ? We got to come up with something for before Stearns and after Stearns. This was
BS and ABS.
This was before Stearns.
Everything before Stearns was BS.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly. It does not matter. I don't care.
Now it's all ABS. So we don't care about that. Also, I think the problem sometimes with veterans coming into pitching environments, if hypothetically this was ABS, those guys come in and they're not coming in to learn how to pitch. They're 2 Hall of Famers. So Clay Holmes is coming to the Mets because he wants their resources to teach him how to pitch. Griffin Canning, same thing.
Well, I think Verlander has always been very open to new information.
Mm-hmm.
We've always heard that about him.
We saw that in Houston.
Especially with the way he was in Houston, and they were, a machine with pitching, especially when he got there. Scherzer, I agree with you. Like, Scherzer would walk in and say, yeah, I'm not listening to anybody. I know what I'm doing. Verlander, I do think, came in and would have been willing to listen to what Hefner and Stearns, if he was there, had to say.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Verlander has done a good job throughout his career of trying to adapt, especially when he started cheating in Houston.
Right, of course.
He was really open to that. What else on the Mets?
Just like your guy over there, Garrett Cole.
He's hurt, dude. We don't talk about injured players like that.
My bad. Sorry.
He's a serious season-ending injury.
Let me just say this. Okay, this last point. It's a Lindor point, but it's really also like a rest of the National League point. Lindor has a serious shot at winning MVP this year, like a legit shot.
Yeah,
because he's not off to the bad start. He's off to a really good start, and
he's not even the best player on the team either right now. But
right, but he's playing like an MVP. I agree. If today, if we were going to rank MVPs, it would be Alonso. But I think by the time the year ends, Lindor will be the team MVP based on WAR and things like that. Like, Ohtani is not pitching this year. He's not off to this Ohtani-like start. Sure, he could get hot and just change that. And I'm not saying Lindor's won right now. I think Carroll's probably won. But the NL MVP race is completely wide open this year. I'm very excited to see how it finishes.
I do want to talk for a second again about Soto. Like, I know we're beating a dead horse at this point, but
let's hear it.
Just because we've asked the last 2-3 episodes, do you have any level of concern with Soto?
No, I just think it's 2022. Like, I think it's 2022 all over again.
Yeah.
And do you want to hear like a major coping mechanism?
Yeah, let's hear it.
You want to hear it? Okay. I wrote this down. I was thinking about this in the car the other day, and I wrote this down. There's never been like more pressure on a player in a very long time. All right. Let's like, I don't think let me rephrase that. I don't think any player has ever dealt with more pressure than Juan Soto.
Yeah, I agree with that.
19-year-old, 20-year-old, called up as a 19-year-old, playing in the World Series as a 20-year-old and one of the best players on the team. Then he's turns down $400 million in 2022. He's traded for arguably one of the biggest prospect hauls in the history of the sport. Goes to a team where they're expected to contend, and they contended. They went to the NLCS, but he wasn't great on that team. Right? Again, you're in a new situation on a new coast. Then he's traded to the biggest brand in sports, has a phenomenal year, then says, I'm going to do something no athlete has ever done. In the prime of my career, I'm going to leave the Yankees and go to the Mets. Pressure in the biggest city in the world. And then signs the largest contract in sports history. He's going to be fine. There's a settling in that he has to do. And again, there's an immense amount of pressure on the guy. He's going to be fine. He's got to stop hitting the ball on the ground, though. Please, can you get the ball in the freaking air? I mean, come on.
He really is in an incredible pressure situation. And I was talking about this yesterday, but if you just think, really put this move that he just made into perspective, he left. I'm not trying to do a big brother, little brother thing, but he left the bigger team in New York, the more popular team in New York, for the team that has less of a passionate following, I guess, less of an amount of followers, and still one of the 5-6 most popular brands in baseball. But it's really the one place that you can pull that move off, unless you went from Dodgers to Angels. But I still think it's a totally different thing going from Yankees to Mets. It's literally the most high pressure move, unless you went from Yankees to Red Sox, maybe, that I think you can make in the entire sport.
Yeah.
And he goes there for the biggest contract ever. And he's not the best player ever. That's usually how it goes. But he went for that. He's not even the best player in the league. So he went from that situation, took the big contract, and think about what the Yankees provided him with. I think it's the best situation for him in the league, like on field. You get to hit in front of Judge for 5-6 years. You play the easiest right field in baseball, and the stadium's made for your swing. But he makes a really bold move. He goes to the Mets. I would have probably done the same thing if I was him, because of the money. Just an unbelievable money and opportunity to win that they also provide you. I don't think they provide you with a worse opportunity than the Yankees for sure. It's probably better. And he does that. That is so much pressure. I've been trying to think about it the last few days. I watched a great interview a few years ago, and I can't remember who it was with. It was an NFL player, a stud, that said, you don't realize how much pressure comes with the contract. Because people just say, oh, this guy signed all this money. Great for him. His life's so great. But now everybody's watching you. Everybody's talking about you. And everybody is basically pocket watching whether or not you deserve to make the money or not. $800 million contract, which obviously is $765 on paper, but that's a lot of pressure, man, especially the way he did it. I think he'll be fine. I really do. But I agree with you. I think that's a great point. He might be the most most highly pressured baseball player of our lifetime.
100%. He's 26 years old. He's played, on the biggest stages for so long. He's going to come out of this. It's April. Joe puts here, Soto has the 9th highest ground ball rate in baseball right now. Like, that's not him. This isn't him. And he's not turning into this player. It's just, it's a tough start.
Bryce Harper's another great nominee for this.
I think early on in Bryce's career, when you get kind of like LeBron. I think I bring LeBron up every episode. I bring LeBron up. Like, LeBron is on the cover of Sports Illustrated in high school, and it's kind of the same thing with Harper. He was on, he's on the cover, and there was a ton of pressure early. I think now, for the last few years, that pressure has kind of switched over to Soto. But early on, yes, sure, Harper.
Next episode, the goal is go an hour without mentioning LeBron.
It's impossible because every hour he passes through my brain. So it's like down 3-1-2. That's tough. It's tough.
So Pistons down 3-1. Big Knicks game tonight. Anyways, Soto, a lot of pressure. Want to talk Yankees now? Are we good on Mets?
Good on Mets.
Good on LeBron. We can go to Yankees.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so I'll start with the weekend news. Devin Williams, the worst closer in baseball. They move him out of the closer role. Your overall thoughts as an outsider looking into Yankees land on this entire situation?
Yeah, it's not what you want for a guy that you change this big rule for, and he's a big acquisition, and you're coming from a place where Holmes blew all these saves last season, and you think you are coming in and getting a massive, massive upgrade. And in reality, it's a downgrade to start. Now, it's fine. You're not in this crazy division race where we're going to look back most likely and say these games that he blew, costed you a division. I don't think we're going to be in that spot or a playoff spot. Like, I don't think we're going to be there. But it's certainly concerning coming to this big city after playing in Milwaukee, playing in a very low pressure situation. It's a high pressure job, but a low pressure situation in that city. It's to come to New York and play with the biggest brand in sports. Like, you have to be a little concerned that it's been a rocky start.
Yeah, I'm very worried about it. And then you see him in the post-game press conferences. He doesn't seem content right now where he's at. I don't know if it's content with the Yankees. He seems like he's not in a great spot mentally with this organization right now. I don't think it's a thing where he hates playing for the Yankees, but just the way he's performed, I think he's really feeling it right now in a bad way.
Well, I watched that interview. He did an interview after he blew the game against the Rays last Saturday.
Yep.
And that's the one where I was like, this guy came off so unlikable for a guy that just got here and fans are already pissed off at. Like, that would have, if I was a Yankees fan, that would have drove me over the ledge watching that interview, because listen, you may have been unlucky, and it ended up being the case in that game, right? Like, there were just a lot of unlucky hits and not great defense behind them. But you're sitting there, you blow that lead, and then you got him just basically not taking much blame for it. That I would have been enraged.
Yep. And luckily, this is where it's different from Clay Holmes last year for me. One, it's April still. But two, Luke Weaver is probably the best reliever in baseball. So you're plugging in a guy who has not given up a run yet this year, absolutely is dominating, pounds the zone. He's got ridiculous stuff. This is another, if you want to talk about developing pitching, this is a great Matt Blake success story. Luke Weaver is an absolute stud. So it's a little bit reassuring that we can go to this guy in the ninth, and I feel great about it. It's not like we're searching for answers as to who should pitch the ninth every night. You have the guy. Weaver deserves the spot after what he did in the playoffs last year. I was fine with getting Williams because you were supposed to be playing a 7-inning game after getting Williams with Weaver, but not the case. However, I think, this is where we're at.
I think Boone mishandled this a little bit. I'm a Boone guy. I think he mishandled early on when you see he's struggling after the first couple there. I wouldn't have taken him out of the role, but I would have mixed in Weaver, and I wouldn't have made an announcement. I would have just said, "Hey, they're both going to get looks," and I would have worked it. I would have worked Weaver into some save situations, and worked Williams into some, but it wouldn't have just been Williams getting all of the opportunities. You know what I mean? Like, you're not demoting the guy, but you're not promoting him. And you're getting Weaver, who was really great last season down the stretch and has been so good early this season. You're like, it's more like this guy deserves at least some chance to, pitch in the ninth.
Yeah, he does. And I liked what Boone did yesterday with Williams, because he puts him in the eighth inning. You're down a run. You're down 4-3, probably not winning the game anyways, no matter what happens. And they don't. They lose in the ninth. They don't score. They go 3 up, 3 down in the ninth. So that's usually what happens when you're down going into the final inning. But he puts him in the eighth, and it's still a high leverage spot.
Yes.
Because they're only down a run. But if he gives up the runs, you don't feel like he necessarily lost you the game. So he goes out there and does a good job of, it had probably his best inning of the year. And that was a nice job by Boone. That was well managed. I agree with you, though. We could have started to try and get him going a little earlier, because they've already blown a good amount of games here. You're right in another point before that they're not in this heated division race that they were in last year. You don't have to. This time last year, I know nobody ended up winning 95 games last year, but this time last year, you felt like you were going to have to win 100 plus with Baltimore. That's obviously not the case so far this season between the Yankees, Red Sox, and Rays. Top 3 in the division, only teams 500 or above. I'm worried about Williams. We can't have a home situation on our hands the entire season like we did last year. And Boone, I think, does have to continue to put him into leverage spots because you have to get this team. A lot of this team's success relies on Devin Williams being Devin Williams. Yep. So you have to continue to go to him and hope it works out.
And you mentioned playing a 7-inning game. If you can go to Cruz, Williams, and Weaver in some sort of order there, after getting 6 innings from a starter or 5 innings from a starter and then 1 inning from a mid reliever, and that's dangerous to have a back end like that. And they could have that as long as Williams starts to get it going here.
And as much as I despise Mark Leiter, he's been pretty good this year too. So it's one of those guys.
Despise Mark Leiter
because when they first got him last year, he was batting practice he was batting practice the entire second half of the season last year, and they kept going to him. And then Boone started pitching him in the championship series and the World Series, and he was actually pretty good. But I just hate him because of that.
Okay.
It's just like a PTSD. Every time he came out last year, you knew he was giving up runs. And this year, he's actually been solid. He's been a solid 4th best reliever.
You can't complain about him.
Top 3, so you can't really complain about him. Even though I hate him, he's got a 180 average against. He's got under a 1 WHIP. He's got 18 strikeouts in 12 innings. So he's been good, but still a little PTSD when he steps out. Will Warren yesterday, the latest edition of my Yankees starting pitching isn't good enough agenda because it's not, and it's. Again, unfortunate they lost Cole and Heel, but that's where they're at. Yankee starting pitching is not good enough. And Will Warren, I don't understand. I mean, you don't have a guy better than Warren in anywhere in the world that we can find because he's got great stuff, just doesn't know how to use it and doesn't know where to put it.
They're going to get Heel back, obviously, at some point, and I don't think they're going to rush him back or anything. You got to. Are we going to get to a point where we're sitting here saying, yeah, the Yankees have to trade for a starting pitcher? Like a top end or a mid rotation guy, somebody that's going to start game 3.
Yeah, you have to, because the next point that I'd bring up is that Clark Schmidt stinks.
Right. He's not. Well, I wouldn't go there yet.
So far, he looks rough. He's just back from the injury. He's only started, 3 games? But yeah, 3 games started, 14 innings pitched. He's got a 5.5 ERA. He doesn't look good. He didn't look good down the stretch last year, and in the postseason, I didn't like what I saw. But he's a guy that I look at as a 4 or 5. And right now, he has to beat the Yankees 3, coming back from injury. That's a tough task. They're lucky they got Fried, man, because they've won all 6 of his starts. He should have 6 wins. He should be 6-0. He didn't get the first one because he pitched 4 2/3 instead of getting to that 6th inning. But Fried's been. I mean, is Fried like the favorite to win the Cy Young in the AL? I have to look at the stats right now.
I can take a look at that. This team's obviously they'd be under 500 if he wasn't on this team.
Yeah,
they're 6-0. They're 5 games over. He's the difference in this team being, a major disappointment, or the way they've been. Can I say something about their offense? Are we good pitching? Can I say something?
I'm good at pitching. Yeah,
they have like. They're tops in home runs, top in OPS, top 3 in batting average and on base. Does it not feel like they have those kind of numbers? Like I look at that, I'm like, okay, they're top 5, and 1 here, 3 here, 1 here. But when I look at everybody's numbers, like when I have a list of everybody and what they've done this year, I sit there, I'm like, How is this the case? Like, how do they have the best? It's just Aaron Judge. I mean, it's literally just
Judge. And then the only other guy that I actually think has been a consistent good hitter this year is Goldschmidt, but he's hitting for no pop. And that seems like an intentional adjustment he made, where he's hitting 361. His OPS is 875, but he's obviously sacrificed a lot of pop. He's choking up on a lot of his hits, and he's getting on base all the time. However, 1 home run, 10 RBIs. So he hasn't even contributed to those numbers. But you have Ben Rice has the big home run RBI numbers with 6 and 11. And Chisholm is the most ridiculous, overrated stats in baseball right now. There's a couple of good analytics on him, but he's giving you awful at-bats. He's got 7 home runs, 17 RBIs, but it's just not good. And Volpe is a similar guy, like 5 home runs, 18 RBIs, contributing to those overall production numbers being high for the team, but they haven't been good. I totally agree with you. They have not been good, this lineup.
Jazz Chisholm's on base 298. His OPS is 693. He's hitting 173, and he leads the league in strikeouts.
Mm-hmm.
He's not getting on base. You're not using a strength of his. Same thing with Volpe. I mean, Volpe's on base is 322.
That's what bothers me the most about this team. I was saying it a few nights ago to a few friends. What bothers me the most about the Yankees is they have three really good athletes and potential base stealers in Dominguez, Volpe, and Chisholm. And Dominguez is getting on base the most out of all of them at 330, which if they were all getting on base around 330, fine. Then it's good. But he's getting on base at a 330 rate. Volpe gets on at 322, and then Chisholm's under 300 in the on base. So it's, I mean, and I just have to go on another rant here. Sorry. Cody Bellinger sucks, Mike. He stinks. He's terrible. He's got a 570 OPS. He's Joey Gallo. He's literally Joey Gallo.
It's concerning because it's not like this season has ever happened for him. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like he has had a season where he's had an under 600 OPS and played a ton of games. That's why it's somewhat concerning because you've just seen dud years from him. So I was high on him. I was very high on him coming into this year, and he's like your Vientos, who Vientos making you look bad for a little bit. Now he's coming back to life. Bellinger is making me look bad because I thought Bellinger was going to be a home run replacement there. Not, of course, to Soto's level, but to really just add to this offense and add to the pieces that they added around Judge.
He's got 18 hits in 93 at-bats. 2 home runs. He's got, 5 extra base hits, 6 extra base hits. I mean, this has been a disaster. His on-base percentage is 260. His batting average is 190. Slugging is 312, man. I mean, this guy, he's really bad. And I don't know. That's the problem is you hit it on the head. I don't know if he turns it around.
There's a chance that he doesn't.
It's got to improve a little, right? But I don't know if it really gets to a point where he's got an OPS over 650 at any point in the year. He might end up being that bad.
And Grisham's like playing like most days, right? Like Grisham's still, and his numbers are still unbelievable.
Yeah, he's having a good year. He's been better than Bellinger, obviously.
A Judge hitting 400, it's just it's hard to fathom like how good he is. Like
he's so great.
It's like
and his average. You look at the last few games, it's starting to slip, and he's still having like 2-hit games, and his numbers are going down every game.
It's like how is one person this good at this thing?
Do you think his on base this year, right now it's 496, do you think he ends up over 450?
You know what? Because you may get to a point where there is no reason whatsoever to pitch to him. Yeah, probably.
I almost think the situation he's in right now, for the sake of on base percentage, is more beneficial. Because last year he had over 450. He was 458. So I'm just curious if he does it back-to-back years, which would be ridiculous. But last year might be equally as beneficial or more beneficial from an on-base standpoint. This year having nobody to hit behind him than Soto forcing them to pitch to him was, because they will start walking him for Bellinger, for Dominguez, for Goldschmidt in the middle of the summer. It's absolutely going to happen.
He might go over 465.
He might go over.
He might get to 470 because, like, I'm just like, and I wrote in my notes here, like, when do we get to a point where it just makes 0 sense to pitch to him? Like, who are we going to hit behind him? Who's going to hit behind him for the rest of the year?
There's nobody. There's not one guy in this lineup, unless Stanton comes back and just goes on an absolute tear. There's not one guy in this lineup that you're worried about with Judge on base.
Like, can we hit Rice behind him?
And even he's starting to slide. He's hitting 260 now.
I know they've tried it a little bit.
It's Bellinger though. It's Boone seems to just keep going back to the well with Bellinger, trying to get him going.
Well, then I'm just gonna walk. Then I'm just gonna walk Aaron Judge.
Yep. Just keep walking.
Just keep go.
Yeah, because even Bellinger, when he's good in Chicago last year, you're not in the context of Aaron Judge, you're not really overly afraid to pitch to him.
No, but the guy can't have a 260 on base.
No, it's really bad.
Like you're at a point where it literally makes zero sense.
You know,
if he's hitting, I don't want to face Bellinger in that ballpark, especially.
Something I think that's been interesting throughout Judge's career is his ability to continue. I don't know if it's, a combo of his on base goes up every year, it seems. And I don't know if it's a combo of he's getting intentionally walked more and more every year. That's definitely something to do with it. But his vision from year one to now, I think Judge has actually developed more as a hitter than anybody in Major League Baseball. Because I saw a video right before the season started, or maybe right after the Brewers series when he had the 3 home run game, where it was his first season swing, his second season swing where he almost won the MVP compared to this year and last year. And his swing and approach to the plate his first year or two was so much worse than it is now, but it felt great still because he should have won MVP in his rookie year.
Right. His on base was still 422 in his rookie year as well. And
then it started to hover down more like 360 to 380 for a few years.
Yeah.
And now he's just 410, 420, 450 every year.
He's an anomaly. It doesn't, again, like you turn on the TV and you're like, all right, what's he going to do now? Like what is he going to be able to do today that shocks you?
I know he's ridiculous. And I think I was talking to Gabe about this the other day because he made a playbook video about it. And I said, we're at a point with Judge where you cannot put a cap on his potential numbers.
No.
It's just, you can't sit here and tell me that his OPS won't be 1,100. You can't sit here and tell me he won't hit 60 home runs. Because while he probably won't, because those numbers are just hard to do, even for the best hitter in the league, if anyone's going to, it's him.
And the fact that we're at a point right now where we can also throw out that he's not going to hit over 350. He's not going to hit 350 like
Absolutely.
Right now. That is possible. That is possible.
He might fall because this is twice in his career now. He's led the league in home runs and RBIs and fell short in average. He might fall short of the Triple Crown in home runs this year. If he hits 48 and somebody hits a few more, he might lead the league in average and RBIs and fall short of the Triple Crown that way this year.
That would be pretty shocking. That would probably be the most shocking thing, to be completely honest with you.
Right now, there's a couple guys in double-digit home runs, right?
Is Soderstrom there?
I think Raleigh and Soderstrom are both there.
I got it. Yeah, Suarez and Riley, Cal Riley. And Teoscar's at 9, Corbin's at 9, Carroll's at 9, and Soderstrom's at 9.
How about Suarez the other night? Goes 4 for 4.
Yeah.
They lose 8-7, 4 home runs. Oh my God. How is that even possible?
Game tying home run, too. It was at the 9th or the 10th. Mm-hmm. Brutal.
All right, a couple other things on the Yankees here. Just Boone's lineup making. Boone guys here. We're Boone guys. I don't love Boone, but I'm fine with him. You like Boone more than I do.
I'm a Boone guy.
His lineups are pissing me off this year. I earlier in the season, I spoke about the Wells Dominguez thing against lefties. Neither of them can hit lefties, but Boone keeps hitting them back to back. We're going to talk about Dominguez in a minute. I want to pull up those splits because we're going to talk about them in a second. Dominguez lefty righty splits.
Okay.
And then now you see Volpe and Jazz hit next to each other every night, and they can't get on base. So can we break it up a little bit with those guys? Boone's lineup has been a bit concerning, and for a team with no leadoff hitter, they've gotten more production out of the leadoff spot than anybody. So there's some credit to him because Grisham's been good in it. Rice has been good in it. Wells was good in it. Goldschmidt's been good in it. So they've gotten more production out of that leadoff spot than anyone. Somehow, I'd like to see them find some consistency there, though. Also a knock on Boone. Volpe, Brandon Tierney posted this yesterday on Twitter. I've been saying this about Volpe for 2 years now. He has a little league problem where he steps out of the box, and he can't cover the outside half of the plate because he pulls all his weight out. Little league problem. Can one of the coaches get him in a hitting lab to fix it? Can somebody get him in to fix it?
I used to have that problem.
I used to have that problem too, Mike. That's why we're not in Major League Baseball. But Anthony Volpe is the starting shortstop for the New York Yankees with the same little league problem that I had. That's a problem. That's an issue for me with the coaches.
Yeah.
And then Dominguez, you pull up the splits?
I have the splits. These are absolutely insane.
Let's read them.
Versus righties. He's got 2 homers, 8 RBIs. He's hitting .321 with an .887 OPS. Against lefties. So as a righty. No home runs, 4 RBIs. He's hitting .094 with a 188 slug, a 424 OPS.
This is now the 3rd time we've brought up these splits on the show with Dominguez. And if you look through the rest of his career, in the minors, he's a sub 200 hitter against lefties. And he's a plus 300 hitter against righties. This is not new for Jason Dominguez that he can't hit either from the right side of the plate or he just can't hit lefties. I don't know if he gets better going lefty-lefty, but...
Right. At what point do you tell him not to hit right-handed anymore?
It's tough. It's a tough conversation. He's a young kid still. You're trying to get him comfortable, and to make him go all lefty, you have to actually consider, I don't know when he started switch hitting. It's possible he has not hit lefty-lefty since elementary school or ever.
So it just doesn't make sense to, I don't know, like,
it's tough.
You gotta try something else.
It almost
you can't
feels
be
more
that
like
good. You can't be that poor of a right-handed hitter.
And it almost feels more of a issue to deal with in the offseason, but we're in April and it's a huge problem.
It can't be that stark of a difference. And you can't be worse. Like, I don't think you could be worse if you hit lefty-lefty.
Also, now I have to this WRC plus garbage with Volpe the last few weeks. Everyone, in the last 3 years, Volpe's not that good. Anthony Volpe is not that good. If you look at the shortstops in Major League Baseball, both defensively and offensively, Anthony Volpe is either league average or worse. Offensively, he's way worse. Defensively, fine. I'll give him average or slightly above. But Anthony Volpe is not that good. This team passed on Corey Seager, Dansby Swanson, Carlos Correa. They passed on all of these guys for Anthony Volpe, and he has not been good. And yes, defensively, I will die on this hill that Anthony Volpe is the most overrated defensive shortstop in the league. Go watch the Kansas City Royals play a baseball game. They have a defensive shortstop 1,000 times better. Go watch Carlos Correa play shortstop. Watch any of these guys play shortstop. They are power defenders. Anthony Volpe has great range. He doesn't make great throws from the left side of the infield, and he's overall just an overrated player. Yankee fans love this guy. I don't get it. Why is the standard dropped so far for shortstop of the New York Yankees?
I think that's kind of the problem there. Like, you have this standard. You and listen, there was a lot of hype. There was a ton of hype with this guy coming up. I don't believe he's lived up to the hype. I don't think he's a bad player. I don't think he's this really good player. I'm kind of in the middle. I would kind of be souring on him if I was a Yankees fan as well. I'm not happy with him hitting 220. And the WAR numbers are there. The advanced stats are there. But he is not this player I think the Yankee fan was sold he was going to be. He's not that guy.
He's not. And, I'm tired of acting like just because he won a Gold Glove as a rookie in an awful field of Gold Glovers. Bobby Witt was not an excellent defender that season. Just because Volpe won a Gold Glover as a rookie 2 years ago, I'm tired of acting like it's leading to wins. He's not contributing to wins for the Yankees. Very rarely. Go watch Francisco Lindor, man. 10 minutes away, go watch Francisco Lindor. That's a great defensive shortstop. And we've been watching it now for it's been half a decade. Has it been 5 years now with the Mets?
This is the fourth year, the fifth year?
4 years? Yeah. So, I mean, come on, man. Like, I'm rooting for Anthony Volpe. I think he's a great kid. I love his whole story, his whole path to being a Yankee. Everything. Italian. It's great. It's awesome. Italian. We love an Italian. I loved Rizzo. He stunk. But Volpe, this is a huge make or break year for me, and it won't be for the Yankees with Volpe. They are keeping him around for that 6-year deal.
See, he's 24 years old. There's still time. There is still time for him to become this, I don't think he's going to be an elite player, but a player where you feel good. Even you right now feel good about him. There's time for him to develop into that player.
I don't know. Like, I need him to hit. And he really doesn't hit throughout a season. He's so inconsistent. That's the biggest problem with him is wildly inconsistent.
The average and the on base would piss me off.
The average and the on base. He's supposed to be this great base stealer. All I heard was, a single's a double for Anthony Volpe. Sometimes it's even a triple. He doesn't hit singles.
You got to get him on base. And he's got to be on second base when he gets on base. That would make me mad. That would enrage me.
There's not been one season so far now, through the first two and now a third. I see it trending the same exact way, where Anthony Volpe has given me a good offensive season.
And I can't hear any defense on Jazz, by the way. I can't.
There's no defense on Jazz.
He had a weekend because he had a good weekend. He had an amazing weekend that lifted these numbers up, where his OPS was over 700. It's not even over 700 anymore. You can't defend it. What the hell is happening with him?
And he's not even locking down second base. He's made a few bonehead decisions, base running and defensively. He doesn't seem to be in the right headspace right now either. What I worry about with Jazz now is, so far it's been all sunshine and rainbows, honeymoon phase with Jazz Chisholm starting to end. What happens when he's the headline for the New York Post? He's the headline for the New York Times. He's getting ripped by every reporter in the locker room, getting the tough questions about, it's June, you're hitting 200, your on base is 300, and you're really struggling at the plate. And the Yankee fans are no longer celebrating Jazz Chisholm. How does he react to that?
It's not going to be good, because you're right. It has been this kind of love affair, and for the right reasons. He was really good when he got here last season. I mean, I remember reading those stats after the great weekend he had in the first series of the year, where he's the fourth highest rated player in terms of WAR in the American League since he was traded to the Yankees. Like, that is just completely out the window at this point. You're not even thinking about that. But he was really good when he got here last year. He started off the year, first week, hot, and now it's been terrible. He's a very controversial, outgoing kind of player, where if the fan base starts to turn on him, he may turn on the fan base.
Yeah.
And it could get ugly. It could get nuclear.
I'm a little worried about it. Two things I have for around the league if you're good on the Yankees.
I'm good on the Yankees.
All right, so this week we have Dodgers Marlins. Did you see the largest pay gap in MLB history?
Yes.
The Marlins are, since like the Jeter disaster, it's just been so bad. They had the playoff appearance in 2020, but at what point does something happen with this team? Because they're probably going to trade Sandy.
They have to trade. They have to.
Sandy. And does it get better after that? Because you look at what this team had a decade ago, they had the pieces. And now all the pieces are still everywhere else. Fernandez obviously was a tragedy, but it's just, I don't even know with the Marlins. I could not believe that largest payroll gap in MLB history. $476 million for the Dodgers, $69 million for the Marlins.
I'll tell you this. They're competing this year. They're fighting. They like the manager. I don't know. They'll trade Sandy. They'll continue to build this thing. They hired that kid Peter Bendix from Tampa Bay. Yep. I think they're gonna figure it out. It's gonna be a Tampa Bay Rays kind of build here. That's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be the Tampa Bay Rays model, essentially.
All right, and the only team worse than the Marlins is the Rockies, in my operations estimation. Yep. Is the Rockies, who are on pace to win 23 games.
Yeah, I can't believe this isn't being talked about enough. It's not being talked about enough, considering the way we talked about the White Sox last season.
Yep.
This is just... And, they can break that. They could obviously very easily break that record, but they're as bad as that team.
They are. And the White Sox last year, 41 and 121. Does the weather get warmer and the Rockies start hitting a little bit, and that'll get them out of this? Because they are in the territory. Last year, Chicago won 41 games. The Rockies are on pace. I know it's only April, on pace to win 23.
I'm pretty sure they were 4 games better or 3 games better the White Sox
Yeah.
at this time.
Yep. I
They're-
think it's panic button for Colorado. As I would have said after last season, we'll probably never see another team as bad as the White Sox. Right away, Rockies are a contender.
Like panic button, like, oh, they might break the record.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I
thought you were just like they were pressing the panic button, like season might be over.
We're not gonna make the playoffs this year.
I think we're past that point.
And like, listen to their schedule, dude. They might have 4 wins for like the next 3 months. They play the Braves, best team in baseball, Braves. Then they play in San Francisco. Then they play Detroit. Then San Diego, then Texas, then Arizona, then Philadelphia, then the Yankees, then the Cubs, then the Mets.
Jesus Christ.
That takes you through to June 2nd when they finally go to Miami for a series they could potentially win. And then they play the Mets again, then the Giants, then the Braves again, the Nationals, the Diamondbacks, the Dodgers. They have a brutal first half of the year. And that comes with the division territory, but it's not until August and late July where they actually start playing AL teams like Baltimore, Cleveland, and they play Pittsburgh. So they got a terrible
They
schedule.
might win 15 games by the time they hit Miami.
Oh,
in
my
what, June?
God.
Like,
Yeah, that's June 2nd. June
They
2nd,
might be only
they
be at
start that
15
series
wins.
against Miami. Because, I mean, my God. The Braves are the easiest opponent they have. The Braves and Tigers are the easiest opponent they have for the next 5 weeks.
That is wild.
Yep.
That is wild. Also, can you take a victory lap on the Orioles yet?
Yes, I absolutely can.
Terrible.
Because
they are terrible.
whether they come in last place or not, I was spot on. I hate to even do this in April. I truly do. As much as I love bragging and talking about how great I am at predicting this stuff, I was spot on in the estimation of the lineup will not produce at the same rate they did last year. Those guys that played well. The pitching staff's awful.
We knew
It's
that, though. We knew that going in, they were going to be bad.
And it was not like Orioles fans tried to argue with me, especially on TikTok, like the pitching staff will be okay. We'll get through. No, you do not get through with that pitching staff. You do not get by with that pitching staff. Even if you have the pitching lab, you don't get by. This is the worst staff in the league. And they've been awful. And I think it's a reflection of ownership's dedication to the team or lack thereof.
They have to fire Elias. They have to fire Brandon Hyde and kind of just reset this thing and say, and ownership needs to look themselves in the mirror and say, and I think whoever they interview kind of has to put them in the chair kind of too and say like, hey, we need more of a commitment here.
Yeah. You do. And
they need to get rid of these guys. They need to get rid of the brain trust here.
It sucks that the ownership came in. If you're an Orioles fan, this ownership comes in and they don't do what they should have done. They should have been adding to this team. They let Burns walk. They offered him a contract, but they let him walk. They let Santander walk. And while I don't even think that letting Santander walk was a franchise-altering moment, I think it was probably a healthy move for them, actually, not paying him. It's just the fact that this is the lack of commitment that the ownership has financially. I think that seeps into the clubhouse big time.
Yeah, 100%. They know they didn't add what they needed to add to this young core of guys, especially the guys that have been there, that grew up in this system and saw how bad it was for years. That can't be good.
No, and they finally started to turn the corner. For them to have not won a playoff game, Hyde should have been fired after. I thought I would have fired him after last season. Francona, I would have been all in for Francona if I was running the Orioles.
Francona makes a difference.
And he's making the difference right now. Another one of my expert analysis predictions.
I can't believe that
Reds game back.
They're on a little heater here.
If you want to talk about teams that can pitch, like the Mets, they might be the only one that can run with the Mets right now.
I can't believe this.
I'm fired up about my preseason predictions. Royals have disappointed me a lot. That's one that I had them in the championship series. I thought they were going to be as good as anyone in the AL all year. They're a game under. They can't hit at all. Mariners have been a surprise. Rangers, That whole division really. We talked about the A's being pretty competitive and a competitive 75, 76 win team. That's exactly what they've looked like, and they're hitting.
Look at freaking Nick Lodolo, Hunter Green. Singer's been solid. This team can pitch.
Yep. Hunter Green's been, my favorite in the AL in the NL this year to watch so far.
Other than Griffin County, of course.
Other than Griffin County. Yes, my bad.
Yeah, sorry.
That's right. That's my fault.
Unreal. And the bullpen, too. Good for I'm always rooting for Francona. I'm always rooting for Francona. I love him.
Got to be rooting for Francona. Who was it on the A's? Was it who's hitting, whatever?
No walks?
Yeah, no walks. Was
Jacob Wilson,
Jacob Wilson, right?
Yeah, I think he finally got one.
Did.
Though.
Yeah, he's got 321 average, 333 on base. Finally,
good for him.
He's got 2 walks now. That was crazy. First 3.5 weeks of the season, you're hitting 350. You haven't walked once.
He's crazy.
And because his OPS is under 800.
Is it is it impressive? Like, what is it? Like, I don't.
I think it actually. I looked at that and said he probably stinks.
It's a negative. Okay, even though he's hitting 300, it's a negative.
Yeah, because that feels like that fizzles out.
Okay,
but the A's. I mean, Soderstrom's been the only hitter in the AL really running with Judge.
Imagine I told you that one at the beginning of the year.
Unbelievable. I mean, the advanced numbers are way lower on Soderstrom because Judge is just shattering everything. But in terms of the raw home runs, RBIs, OPS, kind of. I think he's at 1,000 or right under. Soderstrom,
like you talked about Judge potentially, not winning a Triple Crown because he doesn't have the home runs. In that tiny ass ballpark, with the way that ball will be flying out, I'm not saying. I'm not predicting it. I'm just saying, like, if he's gonna hit like this, Soderstrom, he's got the elements at the home ballpark to compete.
Absolutely. And they can't win there either. I think they're like 6-10 there or something.
I know they were bad when the Mets went there a few weeks ago. They were bad. Like, they had a bad record.
But he's hitting. He's hitting everywhere. Really good play. I mean, he feels like the new, Matt Olson type of prototype that they put out every couple of years.
Good for them.
Yep, good for them.
They're pesky.
Good for them. All right. Good wrap on today's show.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks for sticking with us today. Matt's best team in baseball. Make sure to check out the social medias on BTO. You could get the new episode of No Good Takes if you're a hockey fan. Giuseppe's doing some hockey this week. Welcome, Giuseppe, to the BTO media landscape.
Yep.
Big moment for us. Big moment for him. And we're pumped that he is with us. Check out the playbook always if you want the best New York sports and really any sports. Short form content. Gabe's always pumping it out all day, a bunch of clips every day. You're missing out if you're not involved with the playbook. Get involved in the comments as well. And the hard line, anything right now or kind of
we're gonna have a
football
draft reaction at some point this week. Draft reaction.
Yeah, so the draft stuff over. You can see some of our takes on social media. We didn't do a formal show after the draft. I'm going to do a bunker tomorrow with a little wrap up on the draft, put a bow on it, talk a little NBA playoffs as well. But the bunker's back. We're starting some new stuff as well in the works, so stay tuned for it. But scheduling is going to be different. It's going to be ramped up better than ever for a huge summer of BTO. So we appreciate you sticking with us. Thanks for that. Make sure to check out the social media for anything new.